Hey everybody, Jay Glazer, back at you with another super official Facebook Live. If you don't know that reference, just check out Dame Drops on YouTube. You should probably know who that is. Incredible YouTube artist. Anyway, welcome to 2017. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to just quickly jump into your market update. What's going to happen in 2017? Obviously, turn of the new year, inauguration next week, a lot of happenings. But I don't think there's actually that much happening, so to speak, in the real estate market. I think things are actually pretty stable. So let's just talk about a few big ticket items. I'd say the first is what's going to happen once Trump actually gets inaugurated. I've kind of spoken about that a few times in my Facebook Live, so if you really want to know, probably just check those out. I think my opinion hasn't necessarily changed. Having said that, interest rates have started to tick up. I think that's definitely affecting the psychology of certain buyers. I think if you are in the affordable one-bedroom marketplace as a buyer, it's going to be a good time to buy before the interest rates get so high that they negatively impact your ability to afford the monthly cost of the home. And on the flip side, if you're a seller, the same philosophy. Sell your home before those costs get so high on the loan that you can't actually have a buyer who can afford your apartment. Right? You have to find that happy place between reasonable mortgage rates and a good price for your home. So if you think like 2008 when interest rates were 6%, I would say the cost of one bedroom was a little bit less than it is now. And that probably is because of a higher interest rate. So that's point number one. Point number two, if you are thinking about selling, the good news is you can flip into a rental, because if you saw the New York Times article over the weekend, the actual article title was 2017, the year of the renter. If you saw that article, then you know it's a great time to be a renter. So a little bit by design, a little bit out of necessity, I actually sold my own apartment at the end of 2016, and I am now renting. I confess, not happy about it, but I kind of took my own advice, if you will, took the real estate advice of the New York Times, if you will, and I'm now renting, and so far so good. Took advantage of the sales market, now renting, taking advantage of that as well. So if you are thinking about selling and you're not 100% sure where you want to go, perhaps just renting for a year or two and seeing where the market goes is a good option. And lastly, I think one of the really interesting things that's happened in 2016 and will probably continue to happen in 2017 is the polarity of the market. And what I mean by that is we have probably some sort of market cycle that I don't think we've ever really seen before in the New York City housing market. On the one hand, we have the ultra luxury marketplace, which is definitely chopping price, and there's a lot of inventory in new luxury development, and therefore I think we're seeing a real softening of those marketplaces. I mean, you hear rumors between brokers of a contract that's being flipped originally from $30 million down to $23 million and that sort of thing, and that's really scary for the luxury marketplace. But then on the flip side, I just heard a story today that someone listed a studio in Gramercy Park area and had over 100 people visit her exclusive. So I do think there's this really unique dichotomy in the marketplace where the lower end is still escalating and appreciating and the higher end is softening. So you really have converging marketplaces, if you will. And since this is fairly unprecedented, I don't really think people know what that necessarily means in the long term. But again, as I said to start this feed, it's a stable market. I still think that the ultra luxury market is coming down because prices were so astronomically high, but it's stable in the sub $5 million marketplace, and I think 2017 will probably continue to be stable. And yeah, that's really it. I think next week I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I'm going to talk more about how price per square foot can influence, or I should say the size of a home can influence price per square foot. I think we sometimes get really tripped up in New York City and probably the national market as well about the importance or lack thereof of price per square foot. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the science behind price per square foot and sort of where it's important, where it's less important, and how that kind of all plays into your decision of buying or selling a home. Anyway, thank you for joining me. See you next week.